I must generate right motivation to say whatever I have been saying and whatever I'm going to say, that this will bring some sort of understanding and then eventually contribute to your realization and also on the larger sort of from the larger point of bigger point of view, benefit all sentient beings. This is motivation I have to have. At the least, I should not. At the least, my motivation is to impress you with the Dharma, not with me. And I should not be taking things for granted, like being served this nice orange juice, put in a nice place, no need to wear a tag. All these privileges that I have, I should have the, I should take this as a, gesture of respect to the profound and the vast teaching of Prajnaparamita that you are offering. And I shall also remind you, the listeners, especially for those who are following Buddha Dharma, to not only listen to this, to increase your knowledge in Buddha Dharma or to finish your thesis or whatever, dissertation, but really so that you will understand this and somehow benefit others. Your motivation is so important. Motivation will determine your path. You should not listen to these teachings. Actually, you should not listen to these teachings even for the sake of your enlightenment. Who cares about one's own enlightenment? That is the Mahayana attitude. I don't care whether I get enlightenment or not. I want everyone to be enlightened. That is your motivation. You should not be worried about whether you are practicing Dharma okay, whether you are sitting properly or not, you are getting closer to the enlightenment or not. Those are very lesser attitude, coward attitude. You should try to avoid that. If your motivation is grand, then everything what you hear and what you will do, Shariputra's question, how to be, how to walk, how to listen, how to act. If you're a bodhisattva, if your motivation is grand, then you will hear it in a grand way. Okay, and then another thing, I'm just telling you this is a traditionally emphasized method, tuning the motivation. And as an expounder of the teaching, I should also, we say the not only I invite you, I welcome you, I welcome ghosts. I hope they sit here, there, between you, Nagas, Rakshasas, Dakas, Dakinis. So I shall also, invite all of you, male, females, others. I shall invite all the Dharma bums. I shall welcome all those who have curiosities. I shall invite all the Indian spies, Chinese spies, Tibetan spies, Bhutanese spies, all the spies. This is it. Fantastic opportunity for you spies to hear Prajnaparamita. Please make note and report to the higher beings. Nothing better. You will have a merit by doing it. So, continuing from what we discussed yesterday, but I think before that I need to tell you this. Prajnaparamita is a label. It's a name. Buddhists have so many names referring to one thing. This is again probably very Indian psyche, Indian way of thinking. Things like Shiva has 1,000 names. I sponsored a Shiva fire puja with some Indian pandit, those pujaris. And he said, how many names should I chant? He said, 1,000 will take like 6-7 days. I said, okay, only 100. So Prajana Paramita is a name. There is also Shunyata, which is referring to the same thing, but different. Yeah. And then there is, Tenjing Devarjung, dependent arising, we call it. That's the same thing, referring to the same thing. Then like a Dharmakaya, Dharmata, also Buddha nature, like Tathagata Garbha. And to the certain extent, even the name Buddha. And then to be more specific, and okay, this is not the right time, but just to give you a glimpse, even the concept of deity, like a Vajra Yogini, is actually referring to the same thing, referring to Prajana Paramita. Actually, Prajana Paramita and the Vajra Yogini is the same thing. So you might ask, why confuse us with all these names? Well, different names have a different purpose. Yeah. For instance, actually, the feminists will like this. The same Prajana Paramita, many times, especially those who are in the Shedra, the Buddhist learning schools, they call Prajana Paramita Yum, which means the mother, grandmother, sort of the Yum is the honorific language, right? Honorific Yum means mother. Because Prajana Paramita is the mother of all the enlightened beings. And that's, feminists should like this because, we choose the, feminine aspect here. So, for instance, the Shunyata, we use this label, Shunyata, this term, Shunyata, more during the sort of analytical time, establishing the view, argument, logic, we tend to use this more. But the emptiness is not like a dead void, sort of evaporation of, like disappearance. Emptiness is very much salva, clarity, sarcha, salva the tongpa. Luminous? Luminous, also very luminous. It's very difficult to translate anyway, luminous. And when sometimes we need to emphasize the luminous aspect. So at that time, Prajana Paramita is a very good word. And then other times, to encourage the bodhisattvas and the practitioners, it's good to use the word Tathagata Garbha, Buddha nature. It's such an encouraging word. It's a bit like this. If I ask one of these attendants here to clean this glass, this little dirty, clean it, they will have they have a complete confidence that this is cleanable. Yes. They won't go like, oh my God, like what to do now? They will think, oh, it's easy, just go and wash, cleanable. Likewise, bodhisattvas, when they go roam around benefiting sentient beings, and when they look at these strange, aggressive, emotional, defiled sentient beings, the bodhisattvas, they get excited, they're like famished, they think, this is, finally I have something doable here. The defilements are cleanable. Basically, when the bodhisattvas look at the defiled beings, they see almost like a Buddha in making. Now, let's say we meet someone who's not that bright, don't really analyze a lot, but still want to have some sort of a path to whom he or she can take refuge. We say, this Buddha is a good man. You can trust him. give him a flower or something like this. And, again, at that time, the Buddha, the label we use, the Buddha. So, one thing you need to know is whatever the path you choose, especially spiritual path, that path should not deceive you. A scarecrow should not deceive you in thinking there is a human. The moment you saw a scarecrow and think, that's a scarecrow, that's not a human being, you are safe. You know the truth. Okay? So the path should not deceive you. Okay? For instance, Buddha's teaching, all compounded things are impermanent. This is not going to deceive you. Things are not going to be suddenly, some few things, compounded things will not suddenly become permanent. That's guaranteed. You can trust this. And of all the most trustable thing is the shunyata. And actually trusting that is the taking refuge to the Dharma in the absolute level. I mean, high level. And, we also trust someone who teach you this. This is why we take refuge to the Buddha. We also trust to the community that sort of, agrees the same principle. So this is why I take refuge to the Sangha. So this is why taking a refuge is actually kind of fundamental. Okay? Fire is hot. Water is what? Wet, moisture. That is the truth. You cannot go wrong ever by thinking fire is hot. So this is why the truth needs to be established. We need to now talk about the truth. The truth needs to be established. I've been talking all of this just to come to this point, actually. Okay. What is taught in the Prajnaparamita Hridya, and if you can recall, is Ngedon, which is, this is what he really meant it, okay? The Buddha's absolute teaching. So this is absolute truth teaching. No nose, no eyes, no tongue, no this, no that. He meant those things. When I was a bird, when I was this, all of that, he didn't really mean it. But to talk about the absolute truth, it is helpful to talk about relative truth. Okay? So we are going to talk about the true truth. And before that, two truths are made up. Two truths are not truth also. Just for the sake of communication, this tool is made up. In other words, I can say the concept of relative truth and ultimate truth only exists within the relative truth. And now, I'm going to talk about the relative truth. And I've been using a few commentaries influenced by Haribhadra, and I still don't know where he came from. Does anyone know? Narayanji, do you know? Anyone knows? Where does he come from? Kashmir? Are you sure? Yeah. You're not so sure? Yeah. Anyway. Okay, not from Haryana. And also, I've used some commentaries from, I think, the disciple of Jatsab J, one of the disciple of Tsongkhapa, Lama Tsongkhapa. And because I have studied a lot in the Sakya tradition, I'm sure a lot of whatever I have said had a Sakya influence. But to teach you the relative truth, I am going to use Tengpo Terchen Shirabhyozer's Tengpo Terchen. He's a terton, he's a treasure discoverer. Normally the Sakya person, Gelupas, sort of, critically look at them. This terton, sort of phony people, we don't know who they are, Are they genuine charlatans, whatever. that kind of attitude. So just to annoy these new translation people, like myself, I should say, I'm going to base on Trengpo Terchen, this great treasure discoverer. I have a feeling he was one of the inspiration for Jigme Lingpa, the great Jigme Lingpa of the Longchen Nyingtik tradition. Anyway, I believe there's some Rangjung Yeshe Institute students here who are studying Buddhist philosophy. I encourage you to look into this. It's very special. Okay, so relative truth also, okay, relative truth is also divided into two categories. Invalid relative truth and valid relative truth. Valid relative truth is something like a moon in the sky. Okay, anyway, do you think Kunzop is proper to translate as a relative truth? Kunzop. Zop has something to do with the fake and lying and deceiving. So relative is okay? Fake. But the relative does not have that connotation, does it? In the English word relative doesn't have the connotation of zop. Deceptive. Okay, yeah, that's important. Relative truth, according to the Buddhist philosophy, is very deceptive. It doesn't mean that it doesn't function. This table, according to the Buddhist philosophers, it's a relative truth. In fact, valid relative truth. Table. What happens if these organizers have put a cushion here before you came here, long before, now it's too late. Before you came here, they put a cushion here and my butt is here instead of here. You would think, whoa, Rinpoche is sitting on a really funny chair. You understand? So there you go, deceptive. It's very deceptive. It can be chair. Or what happens if I break this, legs, whatever, into pieces, you will not think it is a table. You understand? So relative is very deceptive. This is why, when Buddhists say time is relative, you have to remember that time is deceptive. Oh, this is so important for you to know. So important. Okay, you are a young bodhisattva, let's say. You can't even handle one person, let's say your friend, you can't even handle his or her one morning's mood. Yet, you are supposed to enlighten all sentient beings. Oh my God. And also, 3 countless eons. You work hard, you work hard, you work hard. 3 countless eons later, you will become Buddha. It feels so long. Remember? So many sentient beings, quantity, so much. 3 countless eons, so long. But remember, quantity, time is zop, meaning deceptive. So this is why it's so important that you know this. If you know this quite nicely, then 3 countless eons doesn't mean actually nothing to be scared of. Okay? After hearing this, you now know, you can sort of have a glimpse of what is ultimate truth. Definitely not deceptive, has to be. Okay, now, Trengpo Tesen Sherpa visits 4 definition of relative truth. So good, I think. One way to define what is relative truth is tunpar nangwa, which means commonly accepted, sort of senses. We all agree this is a flower. Okay, so that's it. That's how you define the valid relative truth. Just because everybody agrees one that's shining today is sun, that's a sun. That's it, that's one. Tumbarnawa, which is like a senses, commonly accepted. I'm sure, and then these rows are red, don't you think? Rose are red.
The
Tumparnhawa. And knowing we are in this valley, I'm sure some of you are slightly overdosed with bang this morning. It's a hashish, it's a something to smoke. And some of you are here like looking at this flower as blue. Invalid relative truth. Because most of us, we don't agree. We all agree this is red. I can just feel it, there's some bang going on. You know, I always think bang could be a bodhisattva's manifestation. I'm sure some of these people that's in front of us here now, they're sort of like Buddhists, you know, like the complete, you know, die-hard Buddhists. They came first to Nepal for bang. I'm very sure I can dig it out. But you know, the bang, the meditation, the stupa, all this somehow, one way or another, led them here. So I think I will include in my prayers, may good, you know, hashish, what do you call it? Things that plants grow properly, organic ones. Next time, if you have a really good master, Rinpoche, ask this Lama to bless this field. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Okay. The second characteristic or definition of relative truth is Dönje Nupa, something that functions. Something that functions, Dönje Nupa. Like an espresso machine is an espresso machine because it works as it produces espresso. Now, of course, you can see, like if you give an espresso machine to some remote, Nepali or a Bhutanese, they would not know what this is. For them, that espresso machine is not espresso machine, it's just some metal. Okay? The third is Juchenji Chepa, meaning relative truth is always Juchenji Chepa, product of cause and condition. The product of cause and condition. It is something to do with the cause, condition, and effect. It is dependent on cause and condition. Yeah? The fourth, which I like it so much, and this is one of this, if you are a Madhyamikan student, this is something you need to hear. Tana Venpa, the fourth is, if you analyze, it will crumble, or what it does not have a property or it cannot stand on itself. If the moment you analyze, it will fall apart. Such a good thing. This is brilliant, this one. Okay, so for those who are Rangjung Yeshe Institute students especially, but anyway, those who are philosophy students, you have to write down what I'm going to say. It's very, very important. Using an analytical tool that is supposedly meant to find the ultimate truth. Okay, this is a little bit long. I don't know how to put this properly. Using an analytical tool that is supposedly meant to find the ultimate truth, but instead of aiming at the ultimate truth, if you aim at the relative truth, this is Thinyipi Shamden, which means it's like a disgrace of a Buddhist philosopher. You have to write this down. Using an analytical tool that is meant to analyze, to find the ultimate truth. But instead of aiming at the ultimate truth, you, by accident or not knowingly, you use to the relative truth. I will give you a good example, okay? Then, that is the disgrace of a Buddhist philosopher. Example is the British Buddhists. Now, I have to talk this. The British Buddhists. Those who sort of, laugh at the Buddhist idea of reincarnation. I have to come up with this one. And I hope they are listening. Many British Buddhists cherry pick Buddha Dharma. Oh yeah, Shunyata is good. Love is good. Compassion is good. Mindfulness is good. Zafu is good. You know, that's what they do. Reincarnation, oh, that's a Tibetan thing. That's an Indian thing. That's how they condemn. And this we have to viciously slashed, minced, and destroyed, this one. Because show me one sentence in the whole Tripitaka and the Shastra where Buddha said reincarnation exists ultimately. Even in the Prajnaparamita Siddha, remember there's no death, there is no decreasing, there's no increasing. Basically, reincarnation concept exists on the relative level. What the British Buddhists end up doing, without probably them knowing, they are using analysis that is supposedly to analyze the ultimate truth, and then use it on the relative truth. Of course, reincarnation will fall apart. Of course. Even your head will fall apart.
Even
Head. You know, Buddhists believe that reincarnation is as absurd as head on your neck that is moving right this very moment.
so,
Can you help me with this one? This is such a good expression. In kunzup tu kurva matab dandam tu dramata. Dramata is like what? Superimpose. Kurva matab is like what? Subtract or what? Kurva matab is like the one is exaggeration, denigration. Drota is like an exaggeration, like fabricate. Right. The other one, kunzup the kurva madhab, so to say something does not exist. Slander. Slander is a good word. You cannot slander the relative truth, and you cannot exaggerate the ultimate truth. This is a philosopher's, what do you call it, ethic, if you like. It's a Buddhist philosopher's ethic. You should not slander relative truth, and you should not exaggerate ultimate truth.
what's
Slander, subtract, the opposite of exaggeration. Is there some English experts here?
like look down?
Despise is
Despise?
good.
Okay.
Slander.
So 人们就说
Basically, no reincarnation. Denigrate, yeah. No reincarnation on the relative truth. Of course, we also accept no reincarnation in the ultimate loop. But if you say there is no reincarnation in relative truth, then you are basically slandering, denigrating. You are basically destroying the call it law of relative truth. Law of relative truth. There are a lot of this kind of Buddhists, especially in Europe and the West. They should be grilled, minced, chopped, fried, barbecued. They destroy the Buddha Dhamma more than any other negative have had. I mean it. I might look a little silly here when I'm talking, and so you may not take it seriously, but I mean this one.